So before we draw with thread, I'm inspired by some of the artists here at the museum in our North by Northwest Women's Work exhibition. Here's one of the artists, Ciravalo. She took a dish towel from her kitchen, clearly had been used, already had these great red stripes made by a machine, and she went in and said, I'm going to draw with thread. She made a drawing right on the dish towel, something she already had, something that already meant something to her because it's from her life, touching it every day, and drew with thread right on there. And I also like, look at this. She didn't even tack that down. That's just doing its own thing, hanging out there. She trusts the thread to be where it needs to be. Brooke Atherton loves to draw with thread. Brooke Atherton loves to do everything with thread. She's sewing with it, she's drawing with it, making lines, she's walking her dog, and she's finding things, and she sews it into her art. But for today, I'm really excited about all the lines. She sews her lines in so many different ways. And this one, she found some lipstick. Like I said, she finds things on the ground. And so she makes the lines with the thread. And then she adds more and more and more. So Brooke Atherton is one of my inspirations for drawing with thread. She's like a sister who also draws with thread, like I do. Now we're down here in the online education studio. I'm going to show you a little bit of what I do when I draw with thread. And you'll see some things I've done, and then we'll do it together. What you'll need to do this is paper, any kind of paper you want, any color you want. I like these colors as a start. You'll need some thread. It can be anything. I have all these colors of thread because I draw with thread all the time. Or it can be something you have around your house, some string, anything that, some yarn, anything that you can use to glue down to draw with. I also have scissors. Scissors are important for drawing with thread. You gotta cut that thread. I have my teeny tiny thread scissors, but any scissors will work. And I'm also gonna be using some glue today. Regular Elmer's glue is great. If you have tacky glue, which is a little stickier, a little tackier, that's also a good way to go. And a couple other things, but we'll add that in later, see how we do. So, we were just upstairs looking at some art that's up here in the museum that shows some ways to draw with thread. I brought up some of my art. This isn't what we're gonna do today, but this is one way I've drawn with thread. Where I take this canvas and I painted it just with these lines, and then I just like punched on through. I have a big needle that I use, and I just take it and I just go right on through that canvas, and I sew in my design. But I draw with thread in a lot of different ways. This one, I decided to sew. But today, we're gonna be gluing down thread. Another way I like a lot. So these needles, don't need them right now. Put them back in the little box. So let's see, what would be a good color of thread? I think I got all this thread going on. Let's get in this like orangey kind of color here. And I'm picking this super bright orange. So sometimes I have a sketch. Sometimes I don't have a sketch. Let's start out with no sketch. See how we do. I'm going to start with this paper. I was gonna put it separate, and then I said to myself, I think I'm gonna keep them together. Make it more interesting. Just regular paper, any kind of paper you have at home. And I'm gonna take my thread, I'm gonna cut a longer piece, just so I have a little room to move. So just like I might take a pencil, or I might take a magic marker, I'm gonna take this thread, and when I draw with it, I decide where I want to start. So I don't want it to move around. Let's see if this tacky glue is going to be my friend and come out. You ever have glue that doesn't come out when you squeeze it? I do. Oh yeah, there we go. So I just put down a little bit of glue, I take my thread, and I start to put it down there. And I kind of like this blue background. To me, it looks more like the sky. And this orange color reminds me of the way it is at sunset or sunrise. I'm going to take my thread and draw. This tacky glue, it looks white, like Elmer's glue will look when it's wet. Then when it's dry, it's going to be clear. You won't see it anymore. So sometimes I start by gluing it down. Other times I will say, well, how do I want the whole thing to look? You know, when you have a pencil, you know, maybe you're going to erase it if you want to change it. But with thread, I love that I can just move it around. And it's my buddy. It forgives me. It'll let me do whatever I want. I'm probably going to cut it here. And then look at that, then it changes. Sometimes I do what it wants. Sometimes I move it where I want it. Sometimes if it wants to do something, I kind of let it follow that. I kind of like that. So it's just glued up here at the top. I'm going to give it a couple more spots for just a little bit of glue to start to tack it down. And for me, I have more fun drawing with thread than I do with a pencil. I feel like all my life people are like, oh, you've got to draw with a pencil, you got to do it this way, that way, you know. But with thread, there aren't as many rules, you know? You can just take it and draw with it and see what happens. Just like we saw upstairs with Brooke Atherton, I mean, she goes on a walk, she finds things while she's walking her dog, and then she just sews it into her artwork. She does whatever she wants, which really is the rule for artists. But sometimes we get caught up in things we've learned, and I bet everybody who's watching has said like, oh, I don't think this is very good, it's not supposed to look this way. But really, as the artist, sometimes when you just choose a way to make art that is fun, you just kind of get there. You just kind of make it look the way you want because you're having so much fun that you're not thinking about like, oh, you know, is this like something I've seen before? No, it's like something I've made. So I started out with this cool line, like this is my sky, and this is part of the sunset. And then sometimes what I like to do lately is I go find my big thread ball of thread that I didn't want to throw away, but I didn't need it anymore. Sometimes I go into my thread ball and I say, hey, what else would look good? Ooh, I like this yellow. Pull out this yellow. Ooh, look, a yellow has an orange attached to it. Yes. This one too, why not? So probably what I'll do is start with my yellow, see how it looks against the color I have down, which is just like with painting, right? You look at the colors. I think I'm going to put it inside here. Yes. Yes. I think I'm going to put it inside and have a little piece of it come out. And just put a little bit more glue. Might get my fingers a little sticky. That's okay. Might move this around a little. That's okay. And, ooh, I like that, just all thready on its own, right where it fell. Put that there. So, one way to start to draw with thread is by just gluing it down. But I'll show you one more thing I've been doing lately when I thought, hey, if I can glue it down, I can probably paint it down. So lately I've said, why don't I take some paint and I'm gonna use white. I think the reason I started with white is because I've been using glue. And glue's white, so it felt kind of comfortable to me. So now I have a little bit of paint. Because lately I've said to myself, hey, how about I use some paint? Take a little paint. I have a brush here. I have some water here. Get the brush a little wet. This is just white, so go on in my white. Get a little bit on my brush. And then, let's see, why don't we put a little blue in here? I am a messy artist, so getting it on my hands. Ooh, let's add some blue in there, yes. So what I might do is take this paint. So this is paint, right? This is gonna stay white. And start to put it down and use it to make a painting and to draw with thread inside my painting. So that time I kind of used it like the glue, but I could also use it, oh yeah, I'm gonna use it to keep this down, to connect it to the black, yeah. And then what I'm gonna do right here is put my blue thread right on top of it. So then that's gonna stay white. Put a little more blue thread. This is dark, dark blue thread. That's gonna stay white. And I'm gonna tap this in there. Like I said, I'm a messy artist, so my hands are gonna start to get dirty. And I'm gonna put this in there, and then I can paint on top of it too, with any color. Yeah. Let's see what happens with this one. Yeah. So some of it's underneath, some of it, like this one, is going to be on top. Yeah. And so this is just a little bit of fam at the YAM, some of the ways you can draw with thread. You can glue it down, or if you want to really get in there, you can start creating a painting. Like this. And you can draw with thread inside of your painting. And if I had a lot of time, I'd start getting more colors of paint, of thread. This gives you a good idea of how to start. See, and even right now, it's so much like I can see what I want to do with my line. I can test it out. I can't do this with a magic marker. Can't do this with pencil. I can just start to see what I like and what looks good. I can take crazy risks. I can say, what if I closed it into a little shape here? I love drawing with thread. So, thanks for joining me at Fan at the YAM. I'm Mary Serbe, and yeah, hello, Internet Land.